Eat your heart out, YouTube. This is Cannibal Red, and this video is an analysis of Lost Holotape 002 Interrogation. Now, after every Lost Holotape, you're going to get one of these videos that tells you the backstory and everything. This one's going to be a little bit longer. It's really a video off thing. You can just listen to the audio, and I'm going to go over the background and the characters and the story behind the holotape that you heard in Interrogation. And I hope you enjoy it. We'll get a little bit of the look at the creative process in it too. So if that's the kind of thing you enjoy, go ahead and stay on the video. If not, click off because it's going to be about 20 minutes of me just kind of going over this stuff. So let's begin. Holotape 002 Interrogation is the story of a man named Abraham. And he is interrogating Lieutenant Mayville, who has betrayed him, who was supposed to give him information about the Enclave for an arrangement they made, and he didn't. He betrayed Abraham, and so now he's being tortured and interrogated so that Abraham can find out where the Enclave is. Now, a lot of things happen in this, so I'm going to go over the background and the story behind it and tell you really the background story behind these characters that I really wanted to get across, and I don't know if I was able to in 4.5 minutes in the holotape. So who is Abraham? Abraham is a character I needed to create. He is the villainous tycoon that Fallout 76 missed out on. He is the epitome of an evil person, I think. When I wrote him, I needed a character that would be intimidating instantly, smart and intelligence, and that makes you go, this dude is bad news. But also someone you can relate to, someone who had good reason to do the things they did, but what they did not, the end does not justify the means, kind of thing. Almost like Thanos from the Avengers, where you go, yeah, overpopulation, yeah, all this stuff, alright, I'm tracking with you, and then it's like, okay, you killed everyone. Maybe that wasn't the greatest plan. So you can feel for him in a way, but at the same time, this is not the person that needs to be in charge, and somehow they got there. Well, Abraham is a mobster. Before the bombs fell, during the war, Abraham is a mobster, and he is very anti-government. He's very powerful. He's a man of wealth and position and money that he's earned all by himself, and he leads a sort of mob-like organization. He has underlings and things like that, which he uses to really get back at the U.S. government and make sure the U.S. government can't screw things up too much. Because the reality of Fallout is the world takes place in a dichotomy. It is this super advanced, glorified 50s era type thing, where everyone loves Uncle Sam, and you fight for your country, and you're proud to do it, and all the family life is portrayed as wonderful and great, and everything's so wonderful in America. But at the same time as that, there's a war going on in the Fallout universe, a war that would inevitably end in atomic destruction, and you would play in the world that you get. That is this very just stark contrast of destruction and yet this facade of happiness, right? At Fallout 76, through holotapes and journal entries and things, we learned that not everyone was happy with the government, that it was just a facade, that people knew that the war wasn't right, and that there were problems in the government, and it was corrupt and all of these things. We learned that in 76, which is great, because Abraham is the epitome of that. He is the epitome of dissatisfaction and distrust in the government. And he's smart enough and powerful enough to really try and do something about it. Even though his methods are maybe not the greatest. Well, as much as Abraham doesn't like the American government, he learns of a new faction called the Enclave. And he learns that even the governor of West Virginia has left his position to join the Enclave. And that the Enclave is prepared for nuclear war. And that they will survive and pick up the pieces and be the new government. And that infuriates Abraham, to think that the same politicians, the same corruption that got the country to where it is in that time, into the shambles and the war and everything like that, to think that those same people are going to be in the new government and try and gain power again after the war, that infuriates him, and he can't allow that to happen, so he makes it his job to stop the Enclave. He needs to find out who they are and what they're doing, and be able to prevent them from accomplishing their goals. And that's where he meets our second character, Lieutenant Maybell. Lieutenant Maybell is a decorated soldier who fought in Anchorage. He went there, he was in the trenches of Anchorage. For those of you that don't know, Anchorage was a battle when the Chinese tried to invade North America. They needed Alaska first because it was a good launching point for missiles and things like that, and it would help them get their troops into the United States. So there was a war fought there. You actually play through it in Fallout 3 DLC. You play through the Battle of Anchorage where you fight the Chinese, and the conditions are terrible. You're in these trenches, and the snow, and the weather, and everything is brutal. Anyway, Lieutenant Maybell was there, and he came back a decorated soldier, but he came back a jaded man who no longer believed in the false promises and the propaganda of the American government. And so he became a perfect pawn for Abraham. Being a jaded military official of relatively high rank. And Abraham gets in contact with Lieutenant Maybell and promises that if he works for him, Abraham can ensure the protection of the lieutenant's family, which in this case would be the lieutenant's fiancée, Clarice. And so they strike a deal that says Abraham will ensure the safety of Clarice, and in return, the lieutenant will join the Enclave and feed information back to Abraham and be the mole in the operation so that Abraham can stop them and know what they're up to and things like that. And it was a good plan, and it worked out for the most part until the bombs fell. And when the bombs fell and the world was mostly destroyed, or the United States was at least, Lieutenant Maybell's opinion of the Enclave changed. He stopped seeing them as just another corrupt form of government and started seeing that they might be the only hope for humanity in the apocalypse. That they have the resources and the power and the military might and the intelligent politicians to really make something of the apocalypse, and that they might be the only chance that America has. So he stops feeding information to Abraham. He betrays Abraham and really joins the Enclave as a devoted member. And the opposite happened with Abraham. As much as the apocalypse changed Lieutenant Maybell's point of view on the government, it only strengthened Abraham's. The apocalypse, the nuclear bombs were proof that everything Abraham believed about the corruption of government was true. So it only strengthened his resolve. And so he is very dedicated to finding the Enclave even after the apocalypse. And when he finds out he's been betrayed, he gathers his men and he captures the lieutenant. And that's where the holotape comes in, where the lieutenant is being tortured and Abraham is interrogating him. So that's really the story. I had all this in my head. I sat down, I wrote it all. I wanted to tell this story because I thought it was a powerful story, and I thought the characters were powerful and they really meant something. So now for some things maybe you didn't catch, and some more deep dive into characters and their creation and things like that. Abraham, I felt, needed a quirk. He needed something to really push him over the edge as a villain, where you go, because before that you can relate and you can go, maybe he's not doing things right, but he's not that bad. But a good villain has almost like a psychopath tendency or trait to really, really show the audience, as much as you can understand him, he's not the person you want doing this. And I chose something I think it was perfect for the Fallout universe to signify this. And it fit with Abraham's character, right, as almost a mob-type person. If you think back to the mobs, mobsters like to do things like cement people's feet and dump them in rivers, right? And just these really over-the-top, extravagant shows of, you don't mess with me, you don't betray me, right? And so Abraham needed something like that, something that would make people look and go, that's a bad dude, don't mess with him. And at the same time, I think there's a narcissism to that, right? That Abraham is definitely a victim of being well educated and well read and thinking he's smarter than everyone else. He is a narcissist. Um, and so I came up with, if you mess with him, if you betray him, he turns you into a ghoul. He has a setup that is high radiation, and he ghouls you. He puts so much radiation into you that you go and become a feral ghoul. And so you're still alive, but you can't think, your brain is melted, and you're a zombie, and he sends you out to wander the wastes forever. And that's his signature. And everyone that works under him, everyone that knows about him goes, oh my gosh, this is not a dude we want to mess with. We don't want to get him upset with us because that is sick, that is disgusting, it's psycho. And it sends this message that, Abraham sending it was just very proud of. And I think for the Fallout universe, with there being ghouls, and no one wants to become a ghoul, it's a terrifying thought to be a living zombie, you know what I mean? To be the Walking Dead and stuff like that. And I thought it made him very intimidating. It made him look very strong and crazy at the same time. So, Bethesda, that would be a really cool character. The only reason I thought of it is because I always was hoping there was going to be a person that did that in your games, and I haven't seen it yet. So, again, all of this is a fan project. I'm inspired by Bethesda. But if you want to take that character, doesn't have to be Abraham, but that aspect of what if a bad guy turned people into ghouls, I would love to experience that in a video game that you make, Bethesda. So anyway, and you actually you know this through the holotape if you listen. During the interrogation, Lieutenant Maybell will not crack. He will not give up the Enclave location to Abraham. And so Abraham's last resort is to bring in Clarice, the fiancée that he was supposed to protect. And he's turned her into a ghoul. And in the holotape, you hear a door open, and you hear chains, and the zombie, the ghoul noises. And that's Clarice. Clarice has been brought in right in front of the lieutenant, and he sees her and is disgusted and is horrified and heartbroken. That they've done this to the person he loves, and he screams out, "What have you done, you bastards?" He's so upset, and in that moment, that's what breaks him. He has nothing else to fight for without her, and he ends up telling Abraham that the Enclave base is located in White Springs. And then Abraham turns to his assistant and says, "Ghoul him and cast him into the waste." And so even the lieutenant at the end of the story becomes a ghoul and gets cast out to wander. Anyway, I thought it was a really cool thing. And that's mostly what I want to talk about. I think I could talk about Abraham a little bit as far as the voice. Originally, Abraham was going to be a very, very deep Southern, almost Cajun accent, right? And I couldn't get it down. And I read my script and I recorded it in the voice that I wanted, and I couldn't emote enough doing an extremely deep Southern voice like that. It sounded very monotone when I read it. And so I really was frustrated because I wanted this character to be good. I needed him to be great and intimidating. And someone said to me, one of my roommates, when they listened to it, why don't you make him more up and more expressive and emotional? And I immediately thought of Colonel Sanders, oddly enough, with like Kentucky Fried Chicken, where he's very up here. You gotta try my chicken. He's up, and he's sophisticated at the same time. He's got the suit, and he's an educated man. You know what I mean? And so I ended up going with like a kind of Colonel Sanders vibe for Abraham. And it worked so much better because I was able to perform and put emotion into the story when I'm up here doing a voice. When the character is already very expressive as a person, as a voice, and everything is very powerful and expressive, it's so much easier to emote and get the emotion out of it, rather than when I was really forcing myself to do an accent and a deep voice that I just couldn't get down. So that's where Abraham came from. That's why he sounds like he does. I pitched my voice down 1 octave in Audacity. It's the only vocal editing in all of the holotape is I didn't do anything else. Didn't really clean anything. Didn't really do much. But Abraham's voice is 1 octave or a half octave lower than my actual voice. So I guess if you're a music person, um, I'm not really. I don't know music theory and stuff like that. I don't know it. But if my voice is at an F, the voice of Abraham is 1 note deeper than that. And that's the only editing I did because I really wanted him to sound deep and intimidating at the same time as intelligent and dangerous. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. And I guess that's pretty much all I really wanted to say. I'm very proud of this. At least my script, I think, was very, very good. I feel much better about writing scripts with multiple characters now. I hope my performance is good. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll leave with this little tidbit. That's kind of interesting. All the ghoul noises are mine. When Clarice comes in the room and you hear the ghoul noises in the background, it lasts the entirety from the moment you hear the door open and the chains rattle, and Clarice come in. It lasts until the end of the video. It's like a minute and a half, and she's literally in the background. You could hear the ghoul noises and that like the entire time once she's introduced. And I wanted to do that in a single take because I was thinking, all the ghouls in the game, someone had to do those voices. Someone had to perform that character. Give me 1 second, I gotta take a drink. I'm actually extremely sick right now, so I hope I'm not coming across as very sick, but I am. And anyway, so Clarice, I wanted to do, okay, anyway, right. When you play Fallout, all the ghouls, all the noises they make, a person went into the studio and did those sounds and made that really scary ghoul when the ghoul jumps at you and he screams, yeah, and you're like, oh crap, as you're playing the game. A person did that noise and he got paid for it, or he or she got paid for it. And I was thinking, well, how cool would it be if I ever wanted to do voice acting to not only be able to say, hey, I can make this zombie noise, but hey, I can do this zombie noise for like a minute or two straight, and you could pull as much of the content as you want and really use the sounds you like and stuff. So I was thinking about that, and I attempted it in one take my first time, and I pushed myself really hard. I was like, these need to be the most brutal, the most like sick, disgusting zombie noises I could possibly make. And I went hard and loud making these noises, and about 40 seconds in, my throat and my body was like, this is not okay. You are pushing way too hard. You're almost gagging yourself making these sounds. And sure enough, yeah, I threw up. Sitting here with my mic on and my recording set up, I was making the noises, and then it like had to run to the bathroom, had to catch vomit in my hands and run to the bathroom. It was disgusting, and I was very ashamed, and I was like, wow, I just made myself throw up by doing zombie noises. It was really intense. So I took a break, and I really thought, how can I overcome this? How can I make zombie noises for an extended period of time that sound good without pushing my body too hard? And I figured it out, and I came back and I sat down and I recorded what I think are very quality zombie sounds at a softer, lighter tone instead of pushing myself and forcing my throat into these weird positions. I wasn't choking myself or anything. I'm just like saying, like expanding your throat really wide and making your body freak out. I was able to come back and do it the full minute and however long on my second take and really make good zombie noises, and I was very proud of that. That was something I overcame in this process. But yeah, so when you watch the video, those zombie noises, just know, like, dude, I pushed myself. I threw up making those sounds. So yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned a lot about the story that I wanted to tell and the characters, and I hope you like Abraham as much as I do, because I was so excited to get him out here and really show this character I had created to people, and I hope he's very intimidating and as interesting as I want him to be. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. There will be more Lost Holotapes coming out. They'll all be different, unique characters. you know, not saying that I won't come back to some characters from before, but I want to really expand things and really push my writing abilities and my vocal performances to be something that I'm very happy and comfortable with. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoy it. Hope you love it. Thanks for watching, guys. Eat your heart out. I'll catch you next time.